Good evening.
Everywhere I go on this island, it seems to me I find degeneracy.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes. See, it's a lot scarier when there's no motive, Sid.
We have a bargain.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
Do you feel the pain? Always the young. Pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
His entire work consists of violence, all the time. Obsessed with the issue of violence. Mayhem, gouging out of eyes, autopsies on the stage.
Come. It is time to keep your appointment.
Good evening, folks. How are we doing? Episode 121 of Double Feature Horror Show, and I'll put out a special disclaimer right now. If you think this is the movie, if you come to pirate the movie here, I am sorry to disappoint you. However, that movie is here on YouTube in full, and you can go and watch that and then come back and listen to our commentary. I thought I'd throw that out there for people who seem to be a sizable subset of viewers, thinking this channel here just puts up the whole movie. Alas.
Just an FYI, the movie is on YouTube in full, but it is Europe only. You need a VPN to watch it if you're in the States.
Which brings us to today's sponsor, NordVPN.
Oh, how long do you reckon until...
Come on, Nord. We're just here for the taking. Come on.
Please. I'm with Atlas. I'm supporting my boys at the Lotus Eaters.
Ah, okay.
Yes, indeed. Well, that disclaimer has been put out there, so I will welcome chat. Good to see you. I know a whole load of people dropped out to refresh, so I hope to see you back soon. But it's lovely to see the regulars. Hello, Maverick. Hello, Alabasted. Hope you're well. You say this is one of your husband's favourite movies. Yeah, good taste. This is firmly a guilty pleasure of mine. I'm not going to say it's the best one ever made. I'm not going to say it's super deep. I'm not going to do a huge reach to try and cram it into some philosophical connection, but I just like it. I saw this when I was very young. It made a big impression, and every time I've watched it, I've had a great time. I really enjoy this movie, and I'm really looking forward to covering it tonight. And I think we are just focusing on the movie. We do not have a topic section, but I will casually mention that we did release a bonus stream for members on Tuesday, and that was covering Stephen King's Cat's Eye? Or maybe I'd just say Cat's Eye from 1985. A bit of a coincidence, another anthology horror movie featuring a cat very prominently, also featuring Stephen King stories very prominently. It was a fun one to cover. Me and Murgoot went over it as a bit of a bonus for all of you who are members of the channel, either here or on Subscribestar. And if you want to see that and other bonus features, exclusives and behind-the-scenes stuff, especially the Easter egg reveal notes that people seem to enjoy, then you can support me either here or on Subscribestar, and the links for doing that are in the description. That was borderline smooth.
There was no borderline. It was well within the line.
Yeah, I think it's talking about the VPNs. That's what did it. Yeah. Well, I won't delay us much further. I've done my shilling. I'm joined by Murgoot, our anthology expert.
Good evening.
Thank you for going back. Two in a week. Murgoot, you are dedicated.
Hey, I aim to please.
And of course, our regular co-host. How am I going to mangle this? He is the Daniel Bedingfield to my Natasha Bedingfield.
Oh my God.
Asked him about the club he was at.
Oh,
when he
I got to get through
out,
this.
Saw us and snuck out. Got paintballs shot at his truck. Blow. It's TCG.
I've got to get. I don't
how it
know.
goes?
I don't know, but all I'm going to say is after that Bedingfield reference, I don't know how I'm going to get through this.
Yeah. You feel bad for Daniel Bedingfield, you know.
Yeah, he got completely outshone by his sister.
Little sis as well comes
Yeah.
along. It's hard, man. It's hard. I like that I can throw out a Daniel Bedingfield reference and you're still there with. Gotta make it through.
Yeah, oh come on! I used to love Garage when I was a kid.
Totally earworm. Totally earworm.
Yeah.
All right, folks, we won't Brit post much more. We'll move off it. TCGR, I've done a shameless shill. How about yourself?
The only thing I've got really to shill at the moment is my second channel, where I'm currently doing an Ace Attorney playthrough, still continuing to do that. We're on the fourth and final turnabout of Ace Attorney Justice for All. So far, it's been an absolute doozy. If you haven't already, please do go and check it out. You can find the channel by searching YouTube and going by hitting the search bar on YouTube and going to That Crime Guy Live, or you can find it within the channel section of my main channel, which I'm sure Horrorshow has linked below. But once I've got that done, then the next goal is to actually get a blooming video out on the main one, because it's been almost a month now since I've done a fully fledged video that was fully written, produced and edited by myself. So that will be coming out very soon. We're still in the research and scripting stage at the moment, but we will get there and we will have that out for you all. And the only other thing I could really say is we're really fast approaching 10,000 subscribers as well. We're less than 250 away, and I just want to give a shout out to the Crime Reel, who very kindly shared my Benoit story the other day. That really helped, and I'm really grateful for that, bud. So if you do happen to come across this stream, thank you. And that's me.
Yeah, very, very good of the Crime Reel. Very good.
He's a good lad. He's always been very supportive, to be fair. I mean, he helped me get to my first 1,000 through a collaboration that we did. So, you know, I owe a lot to him, sincerely. But we'll continue with the topic tonight. I'll suck up to him in private later.
Much appreciated. I'll just dip in there though. If you haven't watched TCG's Chris Benoit video, give it a go. I do think a very good job was done.
Yeah.
So, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say it definitely got people talking. I will say, because there's a lot of mystery around it. I mean, I'm more of the look. I mean, Occam's razor. I'm more accepting of the facts than maybe some other people are, which is fine. Like, I mean, I'm not. I don't ask anybody to share my beliefs or be involved in my beefs. I am a man. I can stand on my feet. Had to throw a bit of Eminem in there, but yeah, no. If you want to have a look at that, and if you have any thoughts about it, drop a comment. It all helps, and I do read all my comments.
Yes, genuinely. In fact, that goes for this video too. The algorithm does need the interaction. I saw Dr. Prepper only just got the notification, so we need your help. We need your help on this. So do the liking. I hope you're all subscribed already. After this, maybe leave a cheeky comment, a little sacrifice for the algo gods. It's all welcome. We all have to do it these days if you want to see these videos, and especially if you want these videos to reach more people. I remembered another thing I'll just get out quickly, and then we'll get into the movie, which is one notification that I've been talking to people about the Halloween season, the October arc. And after members voted, actually, I can't remember if it was members or everyone, but basically there was a vote and you wanted me to actually try and mess you up, give you nightmares, ruin your day. So October is going to be about intense horror. These will be a little harder to take, the horror homework for that one, but I've got really good guests. So hopefully that makes it worth the nightmare fuel I'm going to be assigning as homework in October. But I think you'll really like it. And the other one, a little message to members. I did put something out in the community notes and on Subscribe Star that as part of the larger blockbuster project, I am doing film commentaries, and I have 4 spaces free for film commentaries. So I want your suggestions. If there is a movie that's very special to you that you think would be good for a film commentary, I have 4 that I can fill that are basically open spaces. So check the community post, comment on that, let me know, and we'll try and make that happen. I had a really good time when I did the Pet Cemetery commentary. So I'll be happy to do that again. All right. With that said, that is all done. We are up to date, and we can now talk about Tales from the Dark Side, the movie. But first, that was a bit Steve Turley, wasn't it? But first, I've seen Mr. Gently Benevolent dropping in. Hello, Mr. GB.
Hey, GB.
When you're suggesting, please no Manos Hands of Fate. It's not going to happen.
I just want to very quickly give a shout out to GB, because I'll tell you what, he has become the official That Crime agent. For those who were here last week, remember I was going into an absolute fit about Dave Benson Phillips and his wrestling abilities. Well, Mr. Gently Benevolent's been doing a little bit of digging, and he's found the agents for DBP, and he's currently trying to...
Are we on initials?
Sorry?
Are we on initials term with him?
Well, I think we should be. I mean, he did it himself in that wrestling match. But yeah, he's currently looking to try and see how much it costs to try and get on. I'm assuming. Well, I don't know. We're looking at pricing. He's looking at pricing at the moment, but I think if I can, I might try and get him on a Friday night community quiz.
That would be him.
Get like 90s TV wholesomeness.
All I can say is a deeply subversive chap. That Mr. GB.
I'll bring you a gun.
No one saw that. We'll move on. We're going to move on. Okay, we're talking about Tales from the Dark Side, the movie. And I'll resize now, because that thing you didn't see was the aspect ratio was a bit off. All right. I've got to ask, TCG, had you ever heard of this before?
No.
Wonderful. And Murgoot, I believe you were familiar?
Oh yeah, I've watched it several times before. I love Tales from the Dark Side, the series, and when the movie came out and hit video, I had to watch it. So...
And that's handy that you've got that in there. So about the series, yes. We're in a bit of a tangled web in the world of horror anthologies at the moment. This might not make a lot of sense. And I'm feeling like I should have made that Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme with the Pepe Silver and the crazy diagram. I feel I should have done this. But let's lay out the connections for this. As Murgoot said, there was a Tales from the Dark Side series that preceded this. It also preceded Tales from the Crypt, but it came after Creepshow, right?
Okay.
Correct.
Yes. Creepshow is the adaptation of the comics. Creepshow aped the Tales from the Crypt style comics, and its central producer, the Creep, influenced the Tales from the Crypt TV series, which started in 1989. But before that, in 1983, was Tales from the Dark Side. But Tales from the Dark Side isn't a prequel to Tales from the Crypt. It's a follow-on from Creepshow.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Basically,
all making sense so far, right?
George Romero and several other people said it's basically Creepshow 3. Tales from the Dark Side. After Romero did Creepshow, he did his own syndicated horror show, which ended up being Tales from the Dark Side. And he's an executive producer on this, but he didn't do any of the directing.
Yes. That is correct. We get Creepshow in 1982. We get a pilot for Tales from the Dark Side in 1983, but it couldn't call itself Creepshow because Warner Brothers held some of the licensing, hence Tales from the Darkside. In their opening narration, they did make little allusions to the Twilight Zone. I will see if I can... Oh, I have lost the thing I needed, which was quite nice. I'll read you the opening narration. So it started off with, man lives in the sunlit world of what he believes to be reality, but there is, unseen by most, an underworld, a place that is just as real, but not as brightly lit, a dark side. And it closes with, the dark side is always there, waiting for us to enter, waiting to enter us. Until next time, try to enjoy the daylight. Quite Twilight Zone. Quite Twilight Zone-esque there. So, for rights reasons, the TV version of Creepshow couldn't be called Creepshow, it's Tales from the Darkside, which is also kind of funny because one of the producers is Richard P. Rubenstein, the Laurel Entertainment exec and collaborator with George Romero, right from back in the early days of Night of the Living Dead. And it's thanks to Richard P. Rubenstein's focus on trademarks, copyright, and rights to names that George Romero couldn't call any of his other stuff Living Dead.
I think I remember you saying that before.
Yep. Richard P. Rubenstein, always getting into rights troubles. What can I say? It seems to follow the guy around. Where are we? So they do the TV series. It runs for, was it four seasons? 5? I think 4 seasons.
4 seasons.
Yeah, thank you. Finishes in 1988, and they're doing well with it. They think we're going to do a movie, but as Murgoot's already said, they kind of wanted to do Creepshow 3, but they couldn't, so they did this as a finisher of the series and a spiritual Creepshow 3. It's all a bit tied in. It's directed by John Harrison, who was the cinematographer on Creepshow, and Romero, as Murgoot said, executive produced. Bit of a tangled web. I hope everyone is making their notes on that. Why aren't we doing episodes of Tales from the Darkside itself when we're doing Tales from the Crypt and the Outer Limits? Well, it's basically because I really like the movie, and I just wanted to cover this movie, to be honest.
And why not?
Yeah, so that is a little bit of the tangled history behind it. Not a huge budget on this one, 3.5 million, but a box office of 16.3. Pretty respectable. It did lead to them planning a sequel to this, but alas, it did not happen. And I think when this is pitched as effectively the movie finisher to a series, you can understand how it kind of loses momentum and there wouldn't be the drive as much to do a sequel, unfortunately. But as it stands, it's pretty cozy. It's pretty darn cozy. That is some of the production history. I think I'm seeing a new name in the chat, and it turns out, it's Slim. Slim under a different name. Welcome. And it looks almost like a Rorschach avatar. Never mind. Anyway, that is rambling about the production history. Let's get into the actual meat and potatoes of this Tales from the Darkside, the movie. We have a, by now, standard anthology setup. You've got your 3 main stories, and you've got your wraparound that's a bit more substantial. Something that's meant to be a proper cap to what we just saw, a la Cat's Eye, Murgoot.
Mm-hmm.
The more substantial wraparound that is, how would Grandpa Simpson say, the style at the time. and I'll get that on screen for us in a second. There's something that stood out to me. I don't know if it's being silly, but in the credit sequence we had this, and I just thought it's so. Does any other genre tend to advertise the makeup effects consultants?
Well, to be fair, it's not really something that I keep an eye out for.
Science fiction.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yes. It struck me as a bit of a quirk here that, we go out of our way to advertise it. By the way, Dick Smith there, you probably know best for The Exorcist.
Right. And
I should say he was supported in this by, I want to say it's KNB, isn't it? Yes. KNB, who are the effects company founded by Robert Kurtzman, Greg Nicotero, and Howard Berger. You will know them from all sorts of stuff. They do the very impressive work. Just all over the shop. Obviously, The Walking Dead is one of the main ones because Greg Nicotero is very involved in that. But they did some of the heavier animatronics that we see in this film.
Right. Okay.
So, TCG, would you like to give us the quick overview of it? Maybe just sort of the rough wraparound for how the stories are presented, and then we'll get into the stories themselves.
Yeah, sure. So the character you're seeing on screen, Debby, played by Debby Harrie, otherwise known as Blondie, is a character called Betty, I believe. Lives in a nice little suburban area. It all opens up very nicely and very, very middle class, white picket fence and all that jazz. Goes home. She gets some little ingredients out. Opens a door, and there happens to be a little boy in. I wouldn't call it a dungeon, but it's like a little prison cell. Yeah, the cage. There we go. Yeah, we'll go with that. Turns out that Betty is a witch, and she's throwing a dinner party for some of her witch companions. And little Timmy is going to be going into the oven at 1:30 p.m. But to stall for time, little Timmy boy has been reading a book that Betty presumably gave him, because she's very familiar with it, called Tales from the Darkside. And he proceeds to read her a series of stories, 3 to be exact, as I say, to try and stall time. So that's how they segue between each story. Interestingly, this little lad here, I don't know if anyone's seen Mrs. Doubtfire, but he plays the young boy in that.
Yes.
Yeah, he looks so different. I was like, he looks so different. Like, and this was only like 3 years.
And he was in the long-running series in the U.S. called Boy Meets World.
Yep. Good memories. Very good memories of it.
So yeah, that's basically the premise, really. The boy's going to be cooked, but he reads her stories while the clock runs down.
It's basically Arabian Nights, isn't it?
you know,
Scheherazade.
Yeah. It's that. It's like, oh, you're going to kill me. Oh, but I've got this great tale. You love to see it. You absolutely love to see it. It is quite shameless, but to be honest, the references in this are kind of impressive. Yeah, good summary, TCG. Good summary.
Cool.
And no, it's grand. So we have basically Scheherazade referenced here, or people may think of Arabian Nights. It's certainly what comes to my mind for our wraparound story in a slightly different context. We get a Arthur Conan Doyle story in Lot 2. For some reason, that suddenly sounds wrong to me. Yeah, why did I get that wrong? No, it's fine. Arthur Conan Doyle. We get a Stephen King, and we get an anglicized version of a Japanese horror story from Kwaidan. If you've seen Kwaidan, you can see a much older version of it. in the original Japanese context, but this is our anglicized version of it, where it's not starring a, well, I don't know what you'd call it really, Snow Witch. Yeah.
I've no idea.
No Japanese spirit, but we have a gargoyle as the equivalent. So, yeah, quite a range of references it's drawing on, which makes this quite unique, given the things we've covered previously have sort of moved up to pulp authors or Stephen King. This draws from an impressive range that I think is to its credit. With that said, as for Debby Harrie, I've said this before, but she's a bit of a low-key scream queen.
Mm-hmm. Videodrome, Tales from the Darkside. Forget what else she's done.
Body Bags would be the other one.
Ah.
And I was going to say Body Bags is from 1993. It's 3 years after this. I'd say she gives a much better performance in that, and frankly, I know a whole load of you would like that. She plays a rather saucy nurse in the middle segment of that film.
Oh, very nice.
And it's one where I think she seems a lot more confident, whereas I kind of got the vibe with this that she wasn't as sure.
Yeah, it did feel a bit flat, didn't it?
Yeah, like she didn't really know what to do with it. Because I'm just having a little look at her filmography.
Yeah, same here.
I want to get it right because I was trying to think, how far off Videodrome is this? Because that's so weird.
I mean, it was 7 years. Videodrome was 83. This was, of course, 1990. And then Body Bags was 93. So we're talking, 10 years, 3 big horror movies.
Well, this is also during the period where her husband was severely ill.
Okay. Is that right?
That would make sense then, because it did feel like, I mean, I don't think she was bad in it, but it kind of felt like she was just reading the lines, just going through the motions.
It was a bit. I think that's fair. Flat is fair because I mean we saw her in Videodrome, and it's not like she's vibrant, but she's definitely acting. She's got a lot of personality in that, whereas I think, if she's got stuff in her personal life, it's fair enough. It's fair enough.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
It was only really on this watch that I noticed it. But by the time you get to Body Bags, she is very much back on form. Right, with that said, shall we get into the first story that our little Timmy here uses to distract her?
Do you know, I'm resisting the urge not to South Park the name Timmy. I'm so
it's too memeable, isn't it?
I know. Timmy!
It's just too memeable. All right.
Timmy!
We're going straight back into the incredibly young stars. We got some debuts in this. We got a debut from Julianne Moore in this story.
Well, this is her debut.
Yeah.
What?
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? She looks great.
A young Christian Slater as well.
Yep.
Very young.
Years after coming out of doing Heathers, and he still has the psycho smile.
I'd love seeing him in this. And also Steve Buscemi somehow looking the same age.
I know, right?
What's going on?
Hello, fellow kids.
I don't know. There is some special kind of. I'll start right there before I say banned words. But
in Robert Sedgwick, which American audiences might know him from. Oh, brain fart.
What film was that then?
Cinemax.
When did Brain Fart come out?
Cinemax's Banshee, about a crook who becomes a cop.
Did that have Anthony Starr in it?
I believe so.
Wait, was he the guy who was how can we say he's an ex-mid-century German?
No.
Was that him, or he was just in that?
I believe he was just in it.
Okay.
Oh, just to answer my own question, Brain Fart, the movie, came out in 2005. It looks like it was a straight-to-TV movie release.
We're not reviewing it. Bit of cheeky live Googling.
There you go.
Robert Sedgwick is...
It's got 50 Cent in it.
What?
The Black Eyed Peas. It's got Mariah
Curtis,
Carey.
no.
Backstreet Boys. Howie from the Backstreet Boys. Yeah.
What is this movie?
It's called Brain Fart.
Give us the plot.
Right. Ever wonder what kind of funny thoughts artists might be thinking while performing in music videos? Brain Fart keeps the quips coming on screen, up front, and delivered non-stop throughout a select set of the year's top music videos. There you go.
Okay, back to the movie.
Back to the movie.
Sorry.
Robert Sedgwick is the brother of Kira Sedgwick, actress Kira Sedgwick, best known to be Kevin Bacon's wife. So, 6 degrees from 7, Kevin Bacon.
Oh dear. It does a good job, but he wasn't known to me really. But anyway, this is this adaptation of Lot 249 by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. See classic references here. Updated a fair amount. We have your boy Steve Buscemi is I want to say Edward Bellingham.
Yes.
Have I got that right?
Yeah,
Thank
Edward
you.
Bellingham.
Basically, he's the real brains, bit of a maverick, maybe a bit of a shady character, but doing his academic thing. But unfortunately, Robert Sedgwick here, basically a Chad, a posh Chad, I think it would be fair to say.
Preppy from hell.
Yeah. He wants the lucrative position that both he and Bellingham are going for. Maybe it wasn't a grant or a chair. Regardless. He and Christine Slater's sister, played by Julianne Moore, cheat Edward Bellingham out of it. They not only have Julianne Moore write the applications, the essays for Robert Sedgwick. I know I'm just using the actor names here, forgive me. They also accuse him of theft that may have been true. Did you notice the thing he was accused of stealing that gets him into trouble?
The Zuni idol.
It was.
When it's not a doll with teeth, it's a little stone carving.
It was a lot more toned down than when we last saw a Zuni fetish doll, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was a cute reference. Folks, if that is making absolutely no sense to you, Trilogy of Terror, which we've also covered on here, I want to say 1979, I may be wrong on that one. The Karen Black trilogy, with her playing the lead in all 3 of the stories, ends memorably with a Zuni fetish doll just downing about 7 monsters and going on the rampage. It's quite fantastic. And so that little reference to it I thought was quite cute. So they stitch him up, they get him in trouble. Oh, sorry, Murgoot.
1975 was when Trilogy of Terror.
Thank you very much. Yes, I was out by 4 years. I think we liked that one. That was good fun. That was also good fun. It's just constant. I loved it. Yes, they're stitching him up, and he knows it. So Bellingham has brought in Lot 249, which is a real, actual mummy. And what he's most interested in is a scroll in its belly. But in some rather good writing, he kind of schools the 2 preppy guys there when they're complaining. They're like, what's that smell like dried flowers? And he's like, oh, well, they stuffed them with flowers.
Yeah.
And then he references how the brains of the mummy are taken out via the nose.
With the
This
hook.
is nice explanations being built in.
Yes, and it also serves as a little bit of foreshadowing too.
I would call this sort of thing a little bit of good writing, right?
Mm-hmm. And the reference to, unless you can read Third Kingdom Egyptian hieroglyphics, which comes into play later.
Yeah, there's a nice thing with that. Well, in short, the story is that Bellingham knows he's been done over by these lot and gets out to get his revenge, first by taking out Lee, played by Robert Sedgwick. Sedgwick goes back and hears that here's something's broken in. We get some lovely panning shots around, just seeing the creature, the mummy, straightening out a coat hanger as a sort of making us wonder, what is coming next? We kind of have an idea, though, thanks to Bellingham's description of how a mummy is made.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see him take Lee out by shoving the hook up his nose, taking his brains out. It is gory as heck. We see Julianne Moore after the funeral go a similar way. In some good writing, it's after a funeral. There are flowers around. You have a reason for there to be tons of flowers around. The mummy goes for her next. And then, in a bit that I found really interesting, Christian Slater shows a little bit of genre awareness. He shows a little bit of gumption. He gets ahead of the game, ties before Bellingham can set the mummy on him, knocks him out, ties him up. I realise while I've been talking, I've not been getting the things on screen. So I'll skip ahead to that bit. Ties him up and takes advantage of what we know already, that the mummy will not do its own thing. It needs to be ordered. So while the mummy is just completely inactive, he breaks its fingers off. He starts messing with it. When it is finally summoned, he's prepared. He's brought a little meat carver, takes a leg off.
Meat cleaver, yeah.
Yeah, meat carver, electric meat carver. Yes. And just starts dismembering it while making it absolutely helpless. It is quite interesting. Oh, we've got a good spot here. That is very sus. Deeply sus. I was wondering, in this section, did you notice a rather glaring continuity error?
No,
mummy?
but I will say. No, but what I will say though is Christian Slater did what no actor has ever done before, and read ahead, which was how he was able to overcome the I was near to call it a zombie then, to overcome the mummy. Exactly.
Yeah. I thought it was great. It was great. So the continuity error, if you're wondering, and it's a rather noticeable one.
Oh, hold on. Is it the fingers?
No.
Oh, right, okay.
It might be actually, but I just noticed the arm. The arm's missing.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the arm is gone here. That's the arm he carves the leg off. The mummy falls forward, and then he pulls that same arm off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how that happened, but yeah, continuity error. The arm is off first. It's a weird one there.
Right.
I wonder almost, did they only have a sort of detachable right arm model, and they just sort of used it twice?
Or when they were editing, they swapped the clips. I don't know.
Yeah, could be. It's quite, it's not a prolonged moment, but, it's about 5 or 6 seconds. I'm being a tad pedantic, but, I just thought I'd mention it.
I was going to say, the only one that I thought I spotted was at first, when the mummy's first resurrected, when he puts his hand over, he's missing one finger.
They break it off earlier on.
Ah, okay. Right, okay, that makes sense then. Yeah, because I was saying, because at the end, in a little bit of comedic comedic presentation. It's just the middle finger that's left and the thumb.
That was a great little shot.
And he sort of and Christian Slater sort of gives it a cheeky little, oh, okay.
It's great. He sees it, he moves on. I loved it, but yeah, they do this brilliant, just carving the head open. The mummy absolutely defeated. And when Bellingham directs our boy Christian to the scroll, he burns it, and feeling that he's now safe, he lets Bellingham go, and Bellingham promises to leave. However, as we already established, Christian Slater can't read any hieroglyphics. And Bellingham has still got an active scroll and resurrects Julianne Moore and Robert Sedgwick to come back and murder
I
him.
love the comment in the taxi cab of, fortunately, Indy couldn't tell the difference between Third Kingdom scroll and a 3rd century BC Egyptian pornography.
Love it. It's a cute moment. The taxi driver also is a George Romero regular.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Who's last in 1985. There's a thing throughout this, by the way, a bit of a classic production wheeze to save money. Basically, any movie you see on TV in this, it's a George Romero movie.
Ah, okay. What films were there?
So Dawn of the Dead was shown, Night of the Living Dead is shown, and the other one, Marvin, is shown. Marvin is playing in the next story. We haven't covered that, actually, and I haven't seen it. So I just thought I'd mention it. What did you think of this one, guys?
I really enjoyed it. I missed the continuity error and just all the young stars in their youth was pretty entertaining. Christian Slater is always hilarious.
Oh, he's great, isn't he?
Yeah, and Steve Buscemi, as usual, plays a great straight man with a motive. And Julianne Moore, she was kind of flat in this.
Yeah, it's her first role. I read a 25 years later retrospective with the director, and he said that basically this is her saying yes to any script she got because she was trying to get started.
Right.
So she was not hugely passionate, but she just needed to get on the screen, and you can't blame her, really, can you?
No, no, of course, and it's a good, I say, like in terms of like the people that she would have been around at that time. I think it's a good opportunity. I mean, I wouldn't have said no.
Yeah, exactly. What did you? What was your take on it, TCG? Did this one work for you?
Kind of. Yeah. I mean, it was all right. I mean, it was very sort of like cookie cutter for me. Very sort of straight down the line. No hidden messages or any of that malarkey. Just a straightforward story, really. I was a little bit irked at the way that it kind of ended, though. Like when, he's like, oh, if I'm dead, I'm not going to bring them. Killing me won't bring them back. But if I don't kill you, that won't bring them back either. And then it just sort of clips to the next scene, and he's just leaving calmly. I'm kind of like, okay, what? Okay, right, fine. Okay, it felt a bit of an odd way to sort of segue into the next scene with him just leaving, and then he's like, no, you'll never see me again, but I'll find a way to keep in touch. It's kind of like, mate, why don't you just smash his head in? You killed your sister, dude.
Yeah, I did find myself wondering, like, why are you releasing him?
Yeah, I mean, dude, like, he killed your sister. Come on, man, you're literally letting him walk free. You're a mug, mate. You're an utter mug. And there's not even a bruise on him. Like, what do? You just have a drink with him afterwards and just let him go? Nah.
Well, throughout the story, you get the feeling that Andy really doesn't like Susan.
Yeah.
True, man. But I mean...
He was reluctant, wasn't he? He did say, like, basically, yeah, they screwed you over, but she's my sister. I thought it was... He's got some loyalty, but he's not hugely passionate.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to like it. You don't have to like her, but yeah, she's still blood at the end of the day. And I just felt like a bit too merciful, and it was that weakness that got him off in the end anyway.
I thought the way she died was very giallo, like, and the blood looked really red as well. I quite liked that, and if we're remembering that this is low key, as the kids say, part of Creepshow, the giallo aspect makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think they I was just looking up at the trivia on IMDb, and they do say like that many fans consider this movie, including Tom Savini himself, to be an official Creepshow 3. So like even Tom Savini's like, yeah, this is Creepshow.
Yeah, so we want that, and he directed Creepshow 2.
Yeah.
So he's deeply tied into it, although I don't think he had involvement in this, sadly.
No, instead of Savini, it was Drew Giratano.
Yes, and Dick Smith. I mean, quite a mix of people. How did you feel about the old brain being hooked out? Have I desensitized you horribly, or
that
did
was
this?
a great scene.
Oh, I was looking so forward to that. When I saw that coat hanger come out, I was like, oh yes, okay, here we go. Although you didn't see the brain actually really come out as such, you only really see sort of like the brain afterwards when Slater goes to the... No, was it Slater? No. When Julianne Moore goes to the home, and it's Susan, who, by the way, her name is Susan Smith, which I instantly picked up. Yeah, I instantly picked up on. I was like,
it's one of your performers.
Another lying bee by the name of Susan Smith. Check out my video.
Yes.
Horrorshows in that.
Yeah. Little voice cameo.
But yeah, I mean, but yeah, I think I really enjoyed that. And actually, do you know the Julianne Moore kill as well, the Susan Smith kill was pretty decent as well. Like just slicing open her back and then getting all those flowers and just stuffing it into her. I was like, oh mate, that's yes.
The chrysanthemums that she'd already commented that she hated.
Exactly, yeah. Very it was very, it almost felt kind of body horror-esque. Just because of the sheer fact that this is from a time where CGI just was not a thing. So you're very much relying on practical effects, and I thought they did a really good job. The mummy was a bit dodgy, but I can look past that. That's fine. But when it came to the important bits like this, like the flowers, and also even the dissection or the dismemberment of the mummy, I thought was really good, especially when he gets that slicer and he like takes off the top half of the head, like leaves the jaw in place. I like that. I did enjoy that.
You're like, what in the Final Destination is going on here?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Paul. Proper Sean William Scott moment.
Yeah, remember it's 1990, so you couldn't show as much. This still hit an 18 in the UK. But I sort of feel this did better. Just the imagery of the hook going up the nose, and then the next thing we see is just blood going, and not like a torrent, but just enough blood that I was convinced.
Yeah.
It felt like realistically that's a heck of a lot of blood coming out on the shoes. That was really memorable imagery to me. So I thought this was great. I also want to say shout out to the shot just prowling around the apartment and just gliding over the mummy. I really like that as opposed to like your classic not sure of where it is that something in the shadows, not seeing it until it springs out on you. I love that we just glided past it and saw exactly where it was. I just
I loved the slow roll of Lee Sedgwick going through the house with the tennis racket, cutting to the mummy where he's slowly straightening out the clothes hanger and just holding up the hook at the end and then walking over and picking him up and ramming it up his nose. That slow roll was pretty funny.
So, very nicely done.
The only thing I would say is, though, and I think it's a bit common for all of the stories that we're going to talk about tonight, is where there are death scenes. I mean, there's not a lot of running away, shall we say. It's very sort of like very 60s-esque, or, you know, sort of the horror of the time. Monster comes in, person just stands there, holds their hands out, screams, no, as it slowly walks towards them. It's like, okay, you have options, my dude. Run or briskly walk. That mummy is not catching you.
Well,
it's a trope of time, as you say.
Say
he's
that again.
the only one who stands there. I mean, Susan stabs him with the scissors.
True, she does put up somewhat of a fight, but when it don't work...
She just kind of stand there screaming at the window.
Yeah.
But we will see that just sort of stand and wait for death. We'll see that in the other stories. But yeah, I like this. I like this a lot. Strong opener, and again, we talked about that lovely foreshadowing in the early scene for how the mummies are made. I like it. But that does bring us on to story 2.
Cat from Hell by Stephen King.
Also, interestingly enough, another one in this very same year. So 1990, George Romero did another horror movie, another horror anthology, and that was his collaboration with Dario Argento. Oh no, is it Argento or Argento?
I'd say Argento.
We'll go Argento. I can never remember. So he did the collaboration Two Evil Eyes, and that was kind of a weird throwback. They were adapting Edgar Allan Poe stories, like it was back in the mid-60s again. Do you remember when we were on that arc?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And he did Facts in the Case of M. Valdemar, which we already saw adapted in Tales of Terror. And Argento did The Black Cat, which we've seen adapted in the same one. So kind of interesting. Romero's got 2 evil Black Cat movies in the same year. I just found it interesting. Right. Cat from Hell. It's based on a Stephen King story. We will proceed with a summary. Who fancies taking this?
This is basically Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
It's just Tom and Jerry, except Jerry is the cat and Tom is a hired hitman.
It sounds like you're the guy to do it. Do you recognise the old guy, TCG?
Please tell me, because it's freaking racking my brains. Because I'm like, I know who this guy is, but I could not think for the life of me where I'd seen him before.
Last week in Tales from the Crypt with the Arnie episode, that was him.
Oh my god!
William Hickey.
No way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Same guy.
Oh my god.
Same year.
Jesus wept. I thought to myself, like, I really recognise this dude, and I didn't think to last week, because even the voice as well. Duh.
He was also the weird grandfather in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry,
right. Okay.
I interrupted you, TCG. Go ahead.
No. But
give us a Guinness summary.
Yeah. So he's I think his name's Drogan, isn't he? He's a rich old geezer, and he hires this man on the left-hand side of the screen called Halston for a hit, but it's not a hit like any typical one. It involves him killing a black cat. Drogan seems to believe that this cat is murderously evil, and he basically says, look, I need you to murk this cat, and Halston's like, I'll do it, but like, really, this cat's killing? Like, why would you want me to off this cat? And so Drogon explains that prior to his visit, there were actually 3 other residents who lived in the property. I think their names were Amanda, which was his sister, a friend called Carolyn, and the family's butler, I think, Richard Gage, who is, of course, oh my god, I've forgotten his name now, but he's Hector. Yes, Hector from Breaking Bad. And I loved this cameo, by the way. I love this cameo. I was surprised and pleasantly surprised. I know, right? And basically, this cat has been going around ending these people's lives one by one. I remember the second and third kill. I can't really quite remember how the first one goes.
One, he trips Carolyn, she falls down the stairs and breaks her neck.
Right, okay, yeah, okay. Oh, standard cycle.
Amanda has her breath sucked out.
Yeah, that was so stupid, but that was stupid, that was. And then, yeah, and Gage, he gets killed in a road traffic accident after the cat started, like, attacking him while he was in the driver's seat still. And, yeah, interestingly, all of these kills happen without Drogon being around, so Drogon's the one feeding the stories. And Halston agrees to the kill. He's a bit sceptical at first, but he quickly realises that this cat ain't playing around after, like I say, the Tom and Jerry episode then begins.
Yeah.
But it turns out the cat has a reason for killing these people, because it transpires that Drogon is the owner of a pharmaceutical company that tested its product on cats, and it resulted in the deaths of around 5,000 cats. So this is basically a revenge job for the cat.
In terms of theme, I thought kind of prescient, dodgy pharma company. He's basically been pushing a highly addictive painkiller.
Yeah.
And it's kind of got a certain amount of relevance these days. And then, the cat
I love the touch. It's addictive painkiller and touch of hallucinogen.
I've just remembered as well. I thought the face hugger death was stupid, but ultimately Halston doesn't kill the cat. It's actually quite the opposite. The cat kills Drogon by jumping down Halston's throat. Actually climbs into Halston via the mouth, and then because Drogon leaves the house at that point, he's like, I'm not coming back till this cat's dead, but for some reason he comes back, and then the cat just climbs out of the guy's throat.
I'll see if we get away with this. I've got a close-up. We might be okay.
Yeah, he just climbs out, like, as you do. And of course, that freaks the crap out of Drogon, who then has a heart attack and dies. I don't really know what, like, there's no real deep analysis to these little short episodes. It literally is just that. There's no deeper meaning. It's just bog standard. Can you kill this cat? Yes, I can. Why do you want me to kill this cat? Because he's murdered my family. Really? A cat's done that? Yes, let me tell you how. Well, you weren't there, so I'm not exactly sure, but you're giving me $100,000 for it, so I'll do it. Wait a minute, this cat's scratching the hell out of me. Oh, now this cat seems to be really super smart. Oh, wait, now this cat's jumping down my throat and I'm dying. Now I'm dead. And the cat is using me like something out of The Empire Strikes Back. Now... and now he's climbing out of me and scaring the owner. Damn, this was a sucky Thursday.
One thing I was kind of disappointed in is the big pistol with the laser.
Oh my god!
The cat didn't chase it.
Oh,
I never thought of that.
Never thought of that either.
Okay, so TCG has a fair point, and let's be very clear here. This story is 400% cheating. that cat has typed in IDDQD and nothing works on it. As John Garris has highlighted here, Halston's being really nice to the cat at first, but he's also like, I can just break its neck now. And doesn't.
That's when he he tries to, doesn't he? And then the cat scratches his hand, and that's
the
when he's like,
slapped on IDDQD. He's invincible, and even when you use a laser sight on him, it just misses. So how can I say it? At that point, you are like, oh, it is just cheating.
Also,
it is just magical.
Obligatory cat going for the crotch humor. That was amusing the way that was done. Halston is played by artist Buster Poindexter, better known as David Johansen of the New York Dolls band. Buster Poindexter's big hit was his cover of Hot, 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 which still gets radio play at clubs today.
So a second musician cast in here. You got to
indeed.
Seeing some old school cheat codes being dropped in here. Respect.
Yeah.
The other thing that obviously has to be mentioned about Halston is that he looks exactly like Dave the Distributist. If you were in the, if we have some shared circles, we're focused on film here, but actually we may be having Dave on the channel soon, which would be quite lovely. I just got to settle on a topic, but I saw this and I was like, that's a Distributist. My goodness, that's amazing.
You know what this episode needed, right? To be a fully fledged Tom and Jerry tribute episode.
A hammer.
Lizzo on a chair, saying, "Oh my lord!"
You're very close, but with Lizzo, you can only see her from the knees down.
You can't get her on a chair either.
No,
it's not going to happen.
Yeah, you only see her from the knees down, and she ends up just throwing out Halston by the neck after a poor performance, a poor showing.
Oh dear. There's all I can say is it's a very simple story. The flashbacks are done quite nicely. Once again, we got a simple story, but I think there are some really nice touches in this that elevate it a bit. Like the way the flashbacks are told, and they're told the past is in that blue lighting, and then they'll literally have William Hickey
POV in black and white.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say they have William Hickey sort of in a flashback and then just roll forward into a normally lit room.
Yeah.
And then back in the present. I thought that was pretty nicely done.
Yeah, it gives you a good sense of time in that regard.
It did. I also just thought that the lighting looked really good. Like this shot really draws your attention to the money. Just because of how everything else isn't as bold.
Yeah,
I thought that was nice.
The only issue I had with this particular episode, and it was again not it wasn't like it was a bad one, but this is one that probably could have benefited from a slightly longer runtime. And I say that because there is this sort of conversation going on as to whether the cat is an actual nut job or not, and there wasn't enough time to really sort of flesh. I mean, I could see what they were doing, but it wasn't enough time. It's like you get the stories out because the guy naturally is going to question Drogon's thought process because he wasn't there for any of these kills. He's just inferring that it was the cat. You're just getting his opinion really. So there is still a question to be had at that stage, but it's like after the third story's done, it's just kind of like, right, okay, we need to wrap this up now, so let's just crack on.
It was very brisk.
Yeah,
there probably is. Would you want to see like a 90-minute version of this story where it's built up a bit more?
I mean, you could probably have it more. I don't know, really. Maybe not so much. When I say a slightly longer runtime, I don't mean like a film. I mean you could maybe just, this could be like literally like a sort of like a filler episode of Supernatural, You know, maybe give it like 40, 45 minutes as such. You know, just to have that little bit of mystery. But as a whole film, probably not.
You know, since you said that, I'm going to risk it. We're trying to be efficient tonight, but you've raised something that I've kind of wanted to ask you to, which was almost, do you think Supernatural, The X-Files, Buffy, do you think they are basically, did they kick anthology shows out? Are they basically anthology shows in a new form? What do you reckon?
Serialized anthologies, the anthology part being the monster of the day, and then the frame story being the overall expanded out into being the story arc, 5-season story arcs.
Yeah. I mean,
possibly. I mean,
it's an interesting way of thinking about them, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I can see what you're saying, but it's not. I'm kind of with Dr. Prepper. It's kind of a mix. I don't think it's something that pushed it out because it wasn't exactly this kind of format. Like Murgoot says, you know, especially again, sort of to go back to Supernatural, you'll get a couple of sort of like filler episodes to get the 23 episodes per season. But there is like an overarching storyline. There are episodes which are specifically designed to focus on that storyline. Episodes that, you know, like I say, like Murgoot said, bring in the monster of the day, which have no connection to the main story. But also there are other ones where at the end they'll have a little connection as well. I mean, Dexter's another one as well. I mean, Dexter didn't have as many episodes as the likes of like Supernatural and the X-Files, but it did have sort of like your bad guy of the day episodes mixed in with the main story. This, however, I kind of see it. But I think that formula was around long before, well, in fact, probably even during anthology times. So,
yeah, you could make the same accusation as you could say Star Trek is that basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, precisely. In fact, Star Trek more so because of the fact. I mean, I don't really know if there was really an overarching story as such, more of the fact that there was like an episode of the day as part of a 5-year mission, for example. You know, so you could say that probably ties closer to sort of like the anthology movies or the TV series of the day.
Yeah, aside from the season finale and season opener where they had a big story, but
yeah. I could even say shows like Desperate Housewives are the same.
Oh my gosh, I haven't heard that mentioned in 20 years.
I'm. Do you know what? Loud and proud, mate. I am. It is a guilty pleasure of mine. I think it's very well written.
But yeah, that ruling over Terry Hatcher.
We do, and wasn't Eva Longoria?
Eva Longoria.
Well, you know, we appreciated her.
I appreciate all of them. They're very, but in all seriousness, though, it's a very well written show. But it has that kind of formula as well, where you've got like overarching storylines with each. I mean, there's a main story which is the mystery, and then you have like all the dramas that go on with all the housewives, but then you'll have a couple of episodes that sort of arch away from that. It all ties in at the end, but yeah, I think that kind of formula now exists predominantly nowadays. Whereas, yeah, I think. I just saw your post. I'd be down for that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think it's something that I think maybe did you call it a natural evolution?
Yeah, I think it is an evolution. I'm not trying to be like, blooming X-Files. It's just anthologies, but with a couple of familiar presenters. You know, I'm not doing that at all. I think it's interesting that genres do evolve, and like the serialization that you get by the time you have Supernatural, as has already been said, Dr. Prepper's got in there and saying Buffy became more serialized and less Monster of the Week in later seasons.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think Buffy is probably the one that struck the balance best. and Supernatural wanted to lean more towards standalone, but Supernatural did the job very well.
I disagree hard on that. I would disagree.
You've seen it more recently than me, so you'd probably be right.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, later season, I'm now on season 11 now, and they're sort of very heavily focusing on the main storyline. I think there's only been like 1 or 2 episodes that spring to mind where it's really sort of monster of the week kind of thing. But definitely in the earlier seasons, they were monster of the week because but it was more on the focus of character building because you need to understand what Sam and Dean were doing as hunters and sort of how that life, sort of what motivated them and why they were doing that. But I mean, it's pretty established now what they were doing, why they're doing it, and now they've got a bit more freedom to sort of play with the main story. Whether it works or not, on different story, but yeah, I can understand why they would move as later seasons go on, because if you're rinsing and repeating it can get quite bland.
The Enriab here sets it up well. He says it well how it does.
There?
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I think it's just that thing of, how can I say, I really like the serialization. I think that I like the balance you get from it, basically. But the serialization, I think, gets you better investment. The Enriab had another one up here. I wouldn't normally mention this, but since you mentioned The Man Who Haunted Himself, which we saw adapted in the 1985 Twilight Zone episode Shatterday, directed by Wes Craven with Bruce Willis. Weirdly enough, and this is so random that you mentioned that, the Enriab, that story was going to appear in the sequel to this. If you can believe it. There's, well, not exactly, but there was a version of that story of someone who calls himself in weird conditions, well, herself actually, in a Stephen King story called Sorry, Right Number. And that was adapted to be in the sequel, but they never made it.
No, that's right, yeah.
But it's like random connection there since you brought that up. I just thought that was quite interesting coincidence. There we go. Oh, hey, Crow Minion. Good to see you. Minor tangent. Okay, there was one last thing I wanted to say about the segment, which is a weird bit of meta. I'll get that disgusting cat image on again. See if we get away with it, So bearing in mind this is Stan Winston, I thought there was some interesting stuff here in that I felt there was like a sly joke happening where it's almost like in effects terms, this was kind of doing a big reference to Alien.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And even like the same effect setups, the movement in the stomach. But there was... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, well, if you remember, one of the kills that Drogon talks about is when the cat essentially like acts like a face hugger.
I hadn't even put that in there, but that strengthens it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It literally is like a face hugger. Like it's wrapped right around, and like the tail's sort of flapping around as well. You could argue. I can't remember if it even goes around the neck or not, but it literally looks like a face hugger in that moment.
I think they're making a joke. I think it's a sly joke about Alien, just like we're doing the effects but with the cat. And there's another one. Now this is a bit detailed, but there's a specific shot when it's crawling out of his face where his face is stretched. And it's really like an effect that they did in the transformation sequence in American Werewolf in London.
Yeah.
And then the next story is using so many of the same shots that film did. And it feels like, a little bit of like cheeky referencing a little bit. Hey, do you recognize this? Like special effects masters sort of having a bit of fun with each other. Obviously, Rob Bottin, who's responsible for many of them. Oh, let me just think. Hang on, guys. Did Rob Did Rob Bottin do American Werewolf or The Howling? Dick Smith did one of them. Rob Bottin did the other. Let's have a cheeky Google. Cheeky Google while I get the next one up there.
The Howling.
Was that Dick Smith or Bottin?
That was Bottin.
Oh, right.
He did Robocop
so
2.
Who did American Werewolf? Was that Winston?
I believe it's Winston, but...
what's the guy's name? Winston...
Stan Winston.
Stan Winston.
We're checking this out. Sorry, folks. It's just it's interesting whether it's sort of a cheeky rivalry with Bottin or whether it's referencing a past effect he'd just done.
I will say that Stan Winston did Wrong Turn with Elijah Dushku.
Bit of interesting one, that. Interesting. Oh, no, we've been corrected. Sorry. Rick Baker.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
The second I read it, I was like, yes.
I was going to say, I couldn't see it.
I feel we need to do like a life and times of the big effects artist. I feel we need to do that.
I don't think that's a bad idea, you know.
We can start working through that. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm also thinking for October I might do sort of like life of Vincent Price over the
yes, absolutely.
Are we up for that?
Yes. Yeah. Can House of Wax be one of them? Because I was in HMV the other day and I found out that and I saw some old Giallo. There's like a section with like Blu-rays and whatnot of old horror movies. Giallo was on there, and I noticed that it wasn't. It was next to it in the Giallo section, but there was House of Wax. I picked it up, turned it around. Vincent Price is there. I was like, Jared Padalecki and House Vincent Price.
All right, maybe I'll tie it in. I'll tie it into the classics.
I know you don't like House of Wax, but I'm telling
I'll give it a go for you, TCG.
Come on.
All right,
and it's Vincent Price. You can't go wrong.
No, the price is right. As
yes.
We know. All right, moving on to story 3. We should mention here before we get into story 3, again, good writing right at the very start. The first story that when your boy Timmy's trying to distract Debby Harrie, our witch, and stop him being cooked, she asks him what kind of story he's got to tell her, and she asks, is it a love story? And he says yes. But no. And so he returns to a love story when she really does want to be cooking him, and that's a nice bit of setup and payoff. Well, hey, you love it. You love to see it. Okay. Murgoot, I think this one is down to you, man, if you want to do the Guinness summary for story 3.
Okay. Lover's Vow by Lafcadio Hearn. Preston, played by James Remar, is a struggling artist. He lives in a studio, and he's a starving artist, and his studio is overlooked by a gargoyle. He gets a call from his agent and meets him at a bar, and the agent drops him because his art isn't selling at all. And Preston proceeds to get hammered, and the bar owner offers to walk him home, and they come out and lock up the bar, and they see something moving down the alley, and the bar owner pulls out a gun and fires at the thing moving, and it pops out. It turns out it's a gargoyle, and it proceeds to kill the bar owner. And Preston gets pushed up against the wall by the gargoyle, and it's, I won't say anything, and the gargoyle basically says, I'll let you live if you promise not to tell anyone, and scratches him across the chest.
It's an odd move, isn't it?
Yeah. And he makes the promise not to tell anyone, and as he's running home, he runs into Corolla, played by Radon Chong. She was an it girl at the time. She's Tommy Chong of Cheech and Chong fame's daughter. She claims to have become lost. They go back to his place. She helps him clean up the scratch. He holds to his promise and doesn't tell her how he got it. They sleep together. They start hooking up. His life improves. They get married. They have kids. He goes to his big art exhibit and runs into the bartender, who had helped the bar owner get him out of the place. And then his guilty conscience, he keeps picking up his sketches and crumbles them up. And his guilty conscience, he tells Corolla, well, I have to tell you the truth about how we met, and tells her that a gargoyle had killed his the bar owner friend, and he made a promise. And she looks around, and you broke your promise. I'm sorry. I broke your promise. And she starts metamorphosing into a gargoyle, and you see the daughters huddled up in the back bedroom, and they start metamorphosing too. And Corolla kills Preston, and the end shot is Corolla and the two daughters turned to stone as gargoyles looking over the loft.
And there you have it.
Quick short form summary, not too exciting. The special effects were pretty good.
This is KNB really doing their thing. I'll just note I was wondering about the name Ray Dawn Chong, and I was confused about why she was so high up the casting. So high up the credits. And when you said, oh, she was an It Girl, it made sense. And also Tommy Chong's daughter.
Yeah.
I also noticed her birth mother is quite interesting.
She was in a lot of things. She was very much an It Girl. She was quite the beauty at the time.
Yeah, she was in Commando. And and her birth mother is called Maxine Sneed. Sneed.
Hey,
oh, hang on. Here's a flashback. Devontae Huntley. Hello, Frank.
Hey.
Haven't seen you for ages. Oh, good to see you. Oh, bless. Just when we drop a Sneed, we get Devontae back. Good to see you, man. I hope you're doing well. Oh, bless. Oh, sorry. That's lovely to see you back. Right, sorry. I'll get back onto the film, but that's sweet. Great effects work on this. This is one I think they wanted to be more of the showcase. I mean, they put all the budget into this. How'd this one work for you, Murgoot?
It was the flattest of the three, in my opinion. Just, it didn't do much for me aside from the special effects. It's basically, I don't know why, but it just fell flat.
You know what it was for me? Because I'm exactly the same as you, Murgoot. For me, this one didn't really do it. I mean, for a start, it was too lovey-dovey for my liking. The twist was predictable. It was one of the few times where I'm actually able to confidently get it right. It was unlike the last, because like if you remember last week, when I thought I'd had the twist sorted out on that very last story, and I got completely curveballed. This time it didn't happen. When he met her, and you know, I was already like, yeah, I see where this is going. He's going to get with her. He's gonna all that stuff. He's eventually going to tell her, and then she's going to be like, oh, why did you break the promise, you stupid man? And that's exactly what happened. I do agree that this was. I think what carried it though a lot was like you say was the special effects. They were still very good. That image that you're showing there at the moment very much reminded me of The Fly. Like the slimy sort of metamorphosis kind of transformation, with, like you said as well, Horrorshow, with the American Werewolf. Was it in London? Either way, the metamorphosis.
Yeah, that's the one.
Very similar. But yeah, I mean, it kind of dragged on for me. I do love the fact that James Remar is in it. Again, you know, big fan of Dexter. So
I think he does a really good job in this. I really liked his performance. Oh no,
nah, it didn't really win it for me. Again, I felt like Debby Harrie. I felt like he was just kind of reading the lines and just going through the motions.
Yeah, I agree. His performance was flat.
It was a bit flat for me. It wasn't his best, I'm afraid. But I thought the pacing was all right of the story, if that means anything. I mean, I think in terms of the three stories, this definitely had a better pacing than say like the second one for me, and the first one. So I will give it that. But just in terms of the actual story itself, I felt like it was a bit predictable, a little bit. Some of the acting was a bit flat.
Yeah.
But yeah, the pacing was good. The effects were very good.
Yeah, there's I think that's very fair, to be honest. There's a lot of elements of this that are rather unconvincing. Like we really wonder why on earth. What is a gargoyle's motivation?
Well, apparently to chop off heads and shack up with unsuspecting artists.
There are things like him just like pressing her into an alley wall and saying, "I'm not going to hurt you." That I've got to be honest. That's it's not a big sell for me.
No,
that is not your best pickup line, guys. I'm gonna let you in on a secret.
you say that, but it worked.
Well, fair play, to be honest.
And in fact, they even made a joke about it, didn't they? Horrorshow. They even made a joke about it.
That's a weird thing.
It was so jarring, man, because they got the kid to say that line.
Yeah, TCG, like this is a weird thing. My brain is now fried. I'm trying to remember what it was, but Murgoot and I did Cat's Eye for members on Monday. And there was a weird, like, it was in the James Wood story. There was a weird kind of, how can I say, forced and violent intimacy joke made in that as well. I was like, ooh. I don't know if I've just been like, am I getting soft? Have I been reading The Guardian too much? But it struck me as a bit like, it's a bit of bad taste.
Consequence of not quitting.
Yeah. And in this one, having the kid joke about, that forced intimate experience, you know?
Yeah.
It did strike me as a bit weird. I mean, I think it's probably just a 90s thing that you made these jokes.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
It's a weird, I don't know, it's this thing of, as I talk about propaganda affecting you all the time. It's clearly affected me because those jokes hit me as like, it's a bit weird. Wasn't a fan of that. Wasn't a fan of it. I'm not going to write an angry letter to the BBC. I'm just saying it struck me as odd.
Different time, different place.
A very fair comment. Very fair comment indeed.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yes.
So yeah, I think so just to circle back, I don't think this was the in terms of ending the anthology episodes. I don't think this one was the strongest one to end it on. Yeah, as I say, the negatives for me were sort of like the acting, the the dull. It was quite a dull. I think I found it quite dull, and some of the acting was quite flat. But what it did have that the others didn't, like I said, was the pacing. I felt like the pacing was perhaps the strongest out of the three, and the visual effects again were just beautiful, very, very good, very impressive.
I feel like simping for the story a little bit.
Sorry, Crow Minion. The gargoyle has no concrete plans. It just knows its future isn't set in stone.
I mean, we could take this a couple of ways here to get over the puns, but can we have a moment of appreciation for a gargoyle story? How many gargoyle stories have you seen?
Hey, I watched Gargoyles, the animated series.
Fair play.
That and oh god,
Good old Jonathan Frakes.
80s. Let me look it up.
You look it up. I can think of a John Pertwee Doctor Who episode called The Devils from way back in the 70s or 80s, was it? And that had evil gargoyles.
Let's see. 1972 movie Gargoyles. They used to play it on midnight cinema all the time on TV, and it's as bad as you think it is. It's schlock.
I think we can do more gargoyle stories. It's underexplored, like Wendigos. Not enough Wendigo stories.
Yeah. Cast a Deadly Spell with Fred Ward and Clancy Brown. Also had a gargoyle demon in it. Dancing in the moonlight.
All right, I'm gonna throw something out here. I just don't feel right not making a massive reach in an episode. Is this the most thematically deep story?
Right? I would say yeah.
Basically, you get with someone, and this is about the fact that you meet someone in whatever circumstance, you grow up together, you put 10 years in with them, you know, that we see this couple as 10 years. But there's this kind of thing of digging way too back into the past. Everyone's going to have something. How can I say? Everything's going to have something. And if you think of that, you can destroy your relationship. If you dig far back if you're expecting perfection from your partner, you're not going to get it. You dig back into the past, someone's going to have something awful. And this is maybe a story about how you have to accept your partner as they are. Because if you start thinking of that past, it's going to distort the way you see them. They're going to be monstrous to you. You're going to start seeing your kids as monstrous. What do you reckon?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. Enough said. I've been through that, so
yeah. I mean, there's like Bluebeard is the sort of other side of this, and Bluebeard gets the feminist readings a lot. That's the idea of like the husband has the current bad thing, but this is like the mature version. This is like we all grow, we all develop, and take someone as they are. Like people do develop, they do improve. And I thought that was really interesting. Like you see him now and he's successful as an artist. He's moved on, but he definitely has that past where he's sloppy drunk, he's a failure, he's impulsive, he smashes his art up. And if you looked into that, it could destroy things. So yeah, I'd venture this is a story that's got a bit of a backbone to it. This has got a bit of depth to it in a way that the others haven't.
Yeah, I'd agree, and I think the pacing of it helps that as well, because it is trying to sincerely tell a story, if you will, whereas the other ones are almost just sort of fun stories, I guess. Whereas this one is definitely a more serious one. The tonal shift is very noticeable.
Yeah, they apparently in the script, the order was switched around, but I find it impossible to. I'm afraid I haven't looked at the original script, but I can't see as any way that this was not always the ending.
Right.
Like
Okay.
I think they probably switched stories 1 and 2 around.
Yeah, I mean, those two seem to be quite interchangeable, really.
Yeah, I'm looking at chat and I'm seeing a nice bit of support there. Thank you, chat. I'm glad you go with that. It's I brought this reading into Fight Club as well. There's a really weird stream, a rare one, where I'm on Poe's channel with first time I spoke with Aaron McIntyre, and we were talking about Fight Club, and I brought in this thing about Marla. I thought was a really interesting character because the film is a learning curve for her too. Like basically, it's a film about. I see it as two very damaged individuals, basically trying to do something healthy,
right,
and trying to form a healthy relationship and go forward. And I know I got a bit of that energy from this story as well.
Indeed. Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm standing up for there. I mean, I still find myself wondering, like, how the heck does a gargoyle have deep contacts in the art world? Don't think about it. Don't think about it too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anyone have anything else on this story?
I don't. I think I've pretty much mentioned everything.
All right, groovy. Well, we can go into the finale, the wraparound, the end of everything, because we are in a wraparound story here. And does anyone want to take this? If not, I can do it.
I think. Do you know what? I think you should take it because.
You're so generous letting me do the Guinness.
Well,
summary.
you know, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, in terms of diversity and inclusion and equity purposes, you know,
don't you dare!
The two men have been taking up a lot of time, and it's your show, Horror Show. You should be able to talk on your show.
So,
yeah.
Plus, you opened with it. You may as well read the epilogue.
Grand opening, grand closing.
That's a fair old point. Devonte, just asking about checking out those videos for Harry, and I would say actually he's been a bit on fire. Make sure you check out Harrian's own channel. He's done some good stuff recently. I'll just put that out there. All right, here we go. All right, so our setup was we have a Scheherazade type situation. Little Timmy here is keeping the witch from eviscerating him and putting him in the oven. By telling her stories that are so wonderful that she just has to stop and listen. But time's up. Final story's been told, and she will get cooking up him. But he says he's got one story left that's the best one yet, as she's going into the cell with a knife. And he starts telling his own story about how he took over his brother's paper round today and then was snatched by her and was shoved in the cage. But then he came up with a plan. He takes out marbles. And as he's narrating this, he actually takes out the marbles, throws them on the floor. She trips on them. She falls backwards. Yeah, onto the... are they knives? Are they like meat skewering things?
I would have said they're skewers.
Skewers.
It's kind of nasty, but the effect is tame, but it's very visceral. And then when she's sort of bolt upright, panicking, he gets the keys, unlocks himself, pushes her over onto the baking tray that was meant for him, shoves her into the oven. She slides in, screaming. He closes the door. And then he looks at you and says, I love a happy ending. I mean, I like it.
Cookies the whole time.
It's a great ending. Yeah, she's been fattening him up with cookies, a cute little detail. But I've got to say the thing of he's telling her what he's doing, and she's like, "Oh, okay, I'll just carry on then."
Yeah.
That drove me a bit mad, you know. Enriab here is pointing out that it taps into older fairy tales. It is like the old fairy tales. Obviously, we've got quite a lot of Hansel and Gretel going on here in terms of just wanting to cook the kids. Gosh, I really wonder, you know, I bet...
Feeding them those chocolate biscuits as well, the cookies.
I bet my E. Michael Jones book has some interesting stuff on Hansel and Gretel. I might have to look that up next week. The only thing I had a problem with was the massive drop in any seriousness, because it became a bit cartoonish that she would not respond to him telling her about the marbles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think we necessarily needed the marbles. I kind of think that... I mean, he's got this massive, heavy book that we've seen him have the whole film. What if he threw it on her feet and, like, broke both her feet open? If he threw that thing hard enough, that is a massive tome. He could have cracked her feet and sent her going backwards. How about that? I didn't like the marbles. I didn't like the sort of narration. Am I being too picky? What do you reckon?
I just thought it was a bit cheesy.
Yeah.
Overall. It's like the it reminds me of like a scene out of like Reacher, where he's like, I'm going to punch you in the nose, and then I'm going to break that man's hand, I'm going to dislocate that person's knee, but one person's going to run off in the car and drive off. Or actually, I'll spare one person because one of you needs to drive to the hospital, and then he proceeds to do it. It reminded me very much of that.
Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, I was thinking that 2009 Sherlock as well.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It kind of does that, yeah, that kind of thing. And yeah, like Dr. Prepper says, it kind of had a Looney Tunes energy, which I completely agree with. Yeah, all you needed was the Acme anvil.
Yeah. Oh, so I got this wrong hand. The NREBs got back to me. The NREB was, with this comment, was actually talking about the James Remar. If it helps, we said at the start of the stream, it's adapting a Japanese story that was filmed in Kwaidan. Let me get this right, the Yuki Onna story. But I would recommend watch Kwaidan. It's very interesting. It is very Japanese. I wouldn't say it's super accessible, but I think you'll still enjoy it. So I mean, I'm possibly being picky because the first two stories are leaning into the fun a lot. So it's maybe not tonally all that jarring, you know, especially when we end with a sort of a classic talk to the camera thing. But, oh man,
Tales from the Crypt has always been a bit tongue-in-cheek. There were a lot of really serious ones, but there were a lot that were very tongue-in-cheek. And Romero does have a pretty good sense of humor about things.
He does. We should also note that Creepshow ended in a very similar way, with the child victorious and a bit sinister.
Right.
So
Well,
that really
Creepshow
just
1 ended with the child victorious, and it was very sinister too.
It's a bit of a motif in this. Really does tie it into the Creepshow thing. It's the only thing is just if he's telling you his plan, don't go with it. You know, that's the only thing. That's my only complaint there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
But overall, I still really like it. I still really enjoy it.
It's a lot of fun.
Exactly. By the way, you know this guy, this kid right here ended up dating a member of TLC. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Did he?
I have nowhere else. I mean, you know, not now, but you know, later. later, after a couple of divorces down the line, he was dating TLC, so we know he didn't end up as a buster. I just thought, look, I come across weird stuff in my research. I have to put it out there. I'll also say, by the way, this darn movie was barely referenced in any of my books. It's very briefly referred to in 2 footnotes in Kim Newman's Nightmare Movies.
Nice.
It's a hard knock life, guys, when I do my research for you. All right. Well, that is pretty much everything I've got. Did you guys have anything, or shall we get into closing thoughts and scores?
I don't really have much else to add, really.
Neither do I. Let's get on with the scoring.
All right, sweet. Well, chat, you know what time it is. As I say, let's see those scores if you managed to do it. If you did not manage to see this, I will reiterate, this movie is available on YouTube in full. Now, that's in Europe. You might need to use a VPN, but the whole thing is on YouTube. And if YouTube is fine with you seeing it that way, I don't have a problem. Just, get in there. Have a good time. Right. And I'd say it's a good vibe. It's a fun vibe. If us spoiling the whole thing doesn't put you off, this film is a good time. All right. Murgoot, would you like to go first with your thoughts and scores? Oh,
Certainly.
hang on. Sorry. The NREAB, we talked about it at the start. We did we mentioned the Cat's Eye stream, so that is, we mentioned that is already up for members. We talked about a couple of odd connections with Cat's Eye. In fact, we got spooky cat stories from Stephen King, and also Romero did another spooky cat movie in the same year, Two Evil Eyes. Sorry, we did mention. Okay. Sorry, Murgoot, over to you.
Okay, the wraparound story I'd give 7.5 to 8. I'll give it an 8 just for Debby Harrie.
Nice.
She was a major crush of mine in the 80s, so give it to her for that. 249, I'd give a solid 8. Even with all its flaws, it was a lot of fun, and I love watching Christian Slater chew the scenery, and Steve Buscemi is always a highlight. The second tale I would give a good 8.5, just because of David Johansen, Buster Poindexter. That was hilarious. I mean, the Tom and Jerry energy and the just the shock and awe at the end was hilarious. The third story I would give a 6.5, just because it fell so flat. It was well done. It's that high just because of the special effects. And overall score, about a 7.5. Really enjoyable story, but it's worth a rewatch for me, but it's not the greatest thing on the planet.
That's fair. Yeah, I think we did all end up coming down a little. Well, we'll see the final scores, but yeah, the one that's meant to be the big capper, I think we love the effects, but the story does not hold. Over to you, TCG. Maybe you're gonna prove us wrong.
I'm afraid not really. I think we've probably covered some better anthology films before, but that doesn't mean to say that this wasn't a bad one. The first two ones, I think the problem for me was it started off quite strongly, and then sort of gradually progressed into something less good. less good is a bad word, because it just wasn't as entertaining, I think, towards the end. But that being said, like I really, you know me, I'm a stickler for practical effects, and I think this was some really good examples of that craft on display on this. So I really do praise that. And as much as I didn't like the third story as much as the first two, the third story definitely didn't have the pacing issues that the first two stories had. So which I do commend it for. But what I do like was just the fun, the sort of, you know, no nonsense type stories that the first two ones that did provide. And so I kind of wasn't expecting such a deep one for the finale. But so rather than sort of score them individually, I think overall I'd probably rank it about a 7 out of 12 burgers. Plenty of ketchup on that bad boy, with a few bits of ground mummy pepper sprinkled on the bun. Withhold the lettuce, because we ain't about that vegan life. We're going all in. We'll probably shove a cat somewhere in there as well, just because, you know, why not? So yeah, I'd say 7, but I mean it's a high 7.
Okay, a high 7.
It's a high 7, but I do think we've covered better ones, really.
So for reference, that a high 7 to me, that's like someone says, TCG. Someone's. Do I watch this tonight? It's this or something else. Shall I give it a go, or shall I try something random? High 7 is like, no, give it a go. You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I would say, like I would definitely say to give it a go if you haven't done your homework. You know, because I mean, as you can see in the chat, I mean, there are people that really do like it, and hey, I definitely don't hold that against you at all. I can totally see why people would enjoy this. I mean, like I say, what I really loved were like the cameo appearances, the casting choices were what I thought were brilliant. Having said that, one or two of the performances weren't as good as I'd hope for them to be. Which
I think that's balanced. That's very balanced. I'm going to be really biased in my score. I'm voting this up a lot just because I have good memories and I like the vibe of this. I'm taking points off because I think the third story really depends on the effects, and it's so sad because the third story for me is where I start dropping off. It's everything else, I think. Probably contrary to you, TCG, I think the first two stories move really quite briskly. If you wanted to speed them up a bit, I wouldn't exactly complain. But like in the Cat from Hell, I would quite happily reduce the flashbacks a lot, and make that the shortest segment. And then give more time to the third, because this is a 93-minute movie. The third story could do, if you wanted to just chuck an extra 5 to 10 minutes at it, so you can develop it and give it real weight, because the thematics are quite deep. There's something strong there you can do something with. The effects are the best. So it's just maybe a little more time on that story so it really lands the emotional punch and removes some of the weirdnesses, like we just don't know what the heck the gargoyle is after. We don't know how the gargoyle is connected to the world, etc., etc. There's no sort of false leads about the gargoyle being a threat that makes us think, well, basically makes us think anything other than she is a gargoyle. So that's it is partly why it's so darn predictable what's going on there. Anyway, I take off points for those, or rather I take off burgers for those, but still, the vibe of this, the cheeky sort of wink at the camera ending, it's strong for me. It's a 9 for me. I would say this is good vibes. I feel I could show this to most people if I wanted to get them into horror, and I think they'd have a good time with it.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you benefited from that I didn't is the fact that you have those sort of like nostalgic memories that you can fall back on, and like you said, because you've got that history with this film, that could bump up the score. I didn't have that, so I'm sort of going in blind. But I imagine if I watched this as a kid, like when we did the Tales of the Crypt Keeper, or because I had a prior knowledge to that, and it has like nostalgic memories for me as well. But not just from that, but it reminds me of things like Goosebumps and oh god, what was the other one? Are You Alone in the No, not Alone in the Dark.
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh, Afraid of the Dark. That's it. Yeah, because it reminds me of shows like that. I can instinctively just think to myself, well, I know what we're going to be. I know what we're up for. So, and I used to enjoy those as a kid. So I'm going to automatically bump it. I didn't get that same energy with this, which is really strange because it does kind of fall into that sort of same territory. But I just didn't get that.
Okay. I'm seeing a fair amount in the chat. Sorry, I've seen this as well. Chat's thoughts are here. I think what we're getting here is basically you need to rewrite story 3 quite a lot here. I think basically if you're going to make the third longer, you need to rewrite it. Basically what I'm talking about here, Dr. Prepper, I would make quite a few changes to it. So where I make it longer, it's so that you can do something a bit deeper. If you have a story that just is as it is in here, I would cut a lot of it. I'd also need to say big thank you, the NRAB, dropping 10 memberships is very generous of you, as always. It's absolutely fantastic.
Again. Nice.
You absolutely star, the NRAB. We talk. I think you officially count as a patron at this point, which is very, based and Renaissance pilled of you. You absolutely chat. Cheers. Reagan, look up how to enable gifts. Do a quick Googling and you might be able to get one.
We'll wait for you, Reagan. Don't worry.
Yeah. If you can't, I will reiterate. For I think £2 on Subscribestar, you can get that's the lowest tier, and you can get access to that. So that's an option for everyone. So here we go. Right. Well, that is everything really. That I think is our score. So I think I'd say well received. A big favourite for some people, but everyone generally appreciative, which I think is very fair. We have one more wife in there talking up.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to call me the best horror review channel on YouTube, I'm not going to stop you.
What's the name of that bankroll for the person who pretty much bankrolls Sitch and Adams streams?
Oh, Dr. Diddler?
No, not Dr. Diddler. There's another one.
J-Mac.
J-Mac, that's it.
Yeah.
The NREB is your J-Mac.
Oh. There we go. There we go.
Go.
All right. Reagan, did you get it? Did you get it done? I've got to see. Oh, the Alabaster picked up. Yeah, J-Mac.
Yeah,
Yes.
there you go. Yeah, J-Mac, yeah. Literally. But bless you, man. That's really... the
Absolute
support is
star.
definitely appreciated.
Absolute
Artemis
star, yeah.
Fowl boosts Arch.
Yes.
All I need now is a J-Mac.
Oh,
But then all I need to do is start live streaming again on the main one.
there we go. Yeah, massive thanks again. And for all you new members, check the community posts. Get me your suggestions. Vote in there. Members have quite a say in what gets covered on this. All right. But yeah, that is fantastic. So we've done our reviews. I was really happy with the discussion. Next week, I'm really, really looking forward to, because we are covering the Outer Limits. I have fond but scant memories of it. Fond but scant memories. I've seen a couple of episodes. One of them is one that I know and love. 3 of them are completely new to me. So I'm going to be first time watch for you, with you next week on the Outer Limits. I posted them in a community post earlier, so check the community tabs. But I will make an extra post because it's been a while, and you can see the episode numbers. You might have to hunt them down. You might have to be a bit creative to find the episodes. And I probably need to find a way of providing them so that people can hunt them down if it's a bit difficult to find them.
If you're in the States, it's on the main Roku channel. They are available there.
Excellent. It should be good. It should be very good. So looking forward to that. Next week, we're watching The Outer Limits. The week after, it's a member request. We're doing Severance. That is a quirky little Wendigo film. It's quite fun. And has got a really interesting production history that I enjoyed looking at. So we're going to be doing that. That, I think, is everything. New members, check out the member-exclusive content. Everyone else, become a member. Why would you not? Right. I'm kidding. But also you can. That, I think, is everything. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank my guests who have been fantastic tonight.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure as always. Have we done Severance already?
Oh gosh, I said Severance, didn't I? Sorry, Ravenous. We are doing Ravenous. I'm sorry. I'm 2 days into a fast, folks. There's a certain amount of incoherence you might expect. Thank you, DCG, and thank you, chat. Keep it nice and lively. You've got your horror homework. You've got your scores, and I hope that you're going to get a wonderful weekend. I will leave it there. Links to my guests' content and socials are in the description.
Indeed.
And I'm wishing you a good night. All right. Thanks, y'all. Cheers.
#ShowGang.
Wait.